will still be there, and it will get better. I promise you, there are better days ahead.
Katie Hopkins breaks her silence with bold new commentary on Keir Starmer's political direction. All right, buckle up for this one. Because what Katie Hopkins just dropped out of nowhere, by the way, has set off a whole new wave of political noise around Keir Starmer. You're not going to believe how quickly this escalated. And honestly, the timing of her statement has everyone asking the same question. Why now? Because while most people were focused on the usual headlines, polls, press briefings, economic chatter, something else was brewing quietly in the background. And when Hopkins finally stepped forward and said her piece, it was like someone pulled the curtain back on a conversation that had already been simmering for months. Let's get into it. Hopkins has always been controversial, yes, but she also knows exactly when to strike a nerve. And this time, her comments weren't wild, weren't extreme, weren't explosive for shock value. They were surprisingly measured, focused, and aimed directly at how Keir Starmer has been steering his political ship lately. This isn't about scandals, she said. This is about patterns, choices, signals people keep ignoring. And that line is what sent political Twitter into a spiral overnight. Because suddenly, everyone was dissecting her words, trying to figure out what patterns she meant. So here's the breakdown. Hopkins suggested that the public conversation around Starmer has become too shallow, too focused on daily drama, and not enough on the long-term direction his decisions point toward. She didn't accuse him of crimes, didn't claim secret plots, nothing extreme. What she did was highlight a series of political choices that, in her view, reveal something important about his leadership style. She pointed to his increasingly cautious public tone, his selective engagement with certain policy debates, and his careful avoidance of more polarizing topics unless absolutely necessary. Her argument that Starmer is shaping himself into something almost impossible to pin down. That he's building a brand based on neutrality and stability, but that this strategy comes with consequences no one is fully acknowledging yet. And that's where the conversation blew open. Hopkins isn't the only commentator who has noticed this shift. Political analysts across different outlets have been whispering similar concerns, though far more diplomatically. But when she said it, it cut differently. It landed harder. Maybe because she doesn't tiptoe. Maybe because she says what other commentators imply quietly. Either way, the moment her comments went live, the reaction was instant. A senior UK journalist wrote, "Agree with her or not, Hopkins is tapping into a real public sentiment. People still don't know who Starmer really is." Another analyst posted, "Starmer's biggest strength might also be his biggest weakness. He's consistent, but unreadable." And on social media, that was a whole separate storm. One user tweeted, "She's not wrong. Starmer feels like a blank canvas half the time." Another said, "This is exactly what people have been noticing but didn't want to say out loud." Even some Labour supporters admitted they understood the point, even if they disagreed with her delivery. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Starmer has been carefully positioning himself as the calm, steady alternative to the turbulent politics of the past decade. He's trying to appeal to the middle, the uncertain, and the politically fatigued. And that strategy has been working, at least numerically. But Hopkins argues that the public deserves more clarity. She said, "People don't want a mystery. They want a leader they can read, trust, and anticipate. And whether you like her or not, that question is hitting a nerve. Are voters connecting with the person, or just the idea of someone stable? Is Starmer's carefully controlled public image a strength or a mask that leaves people unsure what he truly stands for?" Those are the conversations her commentary has reignited. This didn't stay in the commentariat bubble. Insiders weighed in too. A former Labour advisor told a radio host, "Starmer's entire strategy is built on minimizing risk. That's not new. But the public wants clarity, especially now." An MP from the opposition said, "Hopkins is controversial, yes. But she's asking questions many voters genuinely ask." And one ANC official in South Africa, watching from a distance, put it even more bluntly. Leadership vacuum or leadership mystery. Either way, it affects international perception. This is no longer just a UK conversation. It's becoming a global talking point about leadership identity in modern politics. So where does this leave us? Hopkins didn't expose a scandal. She didn't reveal secret files, hidden deals, or anything sensational. What she did was pull the spotlight onto something subtle but extremely important. How much do people actually know about Starmer's long-term political identity? And the reaction proves something big. People are paying attention. People want answers. People are tired of vagueness, even from leaders they may support. So what happens next? Starmer may choose to address this head-on. He may continue with his quiet, measured approach. He may even double down on the ambiguity because sometimes silence is strategy. But one thing is clear. Hopkins has reopened a conversation that was quietly building for months. And the question now is, if this is just the beginning of a deeper public conversation, how much more is going to surface in the coming weeks? And how much longer can this leadership mystery hold? Because eventually, every political strategy meets its turning point. And this might be Starmer's.